So Exodus 19:25, Moses goes back down and he spoke to them. Exodus 20, verse 1 through 3, God spoke all these words. What's interesting is when you look at the Ten Commandments, you know the big debate about not hanging the Ten Commandments in the courtrooms and this kind of thing going on? Part of the problem is whose Ten Commandments you're going to have. Catholics have one version of the Ten Commandments in a different order. The Protestants have another version. Jews have another version. We have on our website a free download of all three versions, but that's part of the court's problems is whose version you're going to put up there. Part of the problem is people don't know Hebrew. In one sense, there's no such thing as the Ten Commandments. The Hebrew word for commandment is mitzvot. But when it mentions the 10 commandments in English, it's the 10 devarim, and devarim means words. It's not the 10 commandments, it's the 10 words. Okay, so anyway, and it says God spoke. That's devar, to speak. He spoke all these words. And in the Jews, the first commandment is this. Most Protestants have, you'll have no other gods before me. But that's not the first words. In Judaism, the first commandment, if you want to call it, isn't even a commandment. It's, I'm the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. That is the first one. If you don't know who's doing the talking, you're not going to listen. I ain't going to listen to you. You ain't the boss of me. So the first thing God does, the first word really is, guess what, guys? I'm the one who freed you. I'm the one who loved you. I took you out of bondage. He's trying to establish a relationship. So that really is the first word. Then comes, have no other gods before me. Now, listen to this. When it comes to speaking the commandments, look at Matthew 12:34. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Do you know God gave us the commandments not because he wanted to be the boss of you? It's because he loves you. It's like your operation manual for your car. If you don't put oil in your car, it's going to break down. And God is just saying, look, it's just like you tell your child, you put a fence up in your yard. Don't play in the street. Well, the child rebels against the fence. He hates the fence until he becomes adult and has a kid, and all of a sudden he loves the fence. What changed? The fence didn't change. The attitude changed toward the fence. Okay? And God, out of the abundance of God's heart, he spoke these words. And look at Matthew 4:4. He answered. Yeshua said, it stands written, a person will not live by bread alone, but rather on every word that comes out from the mouth of God. The commandments were the very words from the mouth of God. This is why these are the words that we live by. In Exodus 34:28, it says, he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights, and he did not eat bread or drink water. But he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 what? But it's really 10 words. That's a wrong translation there. So here's where the 10 words come. Now, the word mitzvot. Let me explain this. First, let's go to 1 John 5:2 and 3. By this we know we love the children of God when we love God and obey what he says. This is the love of God. We obey what he says, and what he says doesn't seem like a burden. When God's commandments seem like a burden, it's because you're lawless. That's when it becomes a burden. Now, here's the other important thing that people have to realize. And again, sometimes I have to say what I'm not saying as well as what I am saying, because people will assume by what I'm not saying that I'm saying what I'm not saying, and I'm not. I don't think I can. Okay. We obey God not so we can become his kids. We obey God because we are his kids. This isn't legalism. Legalism is when you obey God to get into his kingdom, but that's not what it is. That would be legalism. For us, we just obey God because I want to. I can't help but think of a kid. If you got kids and the commandment is given to the teenager to dump the trash, okay, I'll get to it. And then the little 8-year-old, I'll do it, Mom, I'll do it, Dad. And he runs and he grabs it and gets it. That's the way is that legalistic? No. Okay. In Exodus 20, verse 6, listen to this. God shows mercy to thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. This time it is mitzvot. It's the correct translation. It's the word mitzvot. Here is the word mitzvot in Hebrew. That's the word for commandments. Well, guess what? The root word means to be on my team, to join me. The very word commandment means God says do something, you do it, so you're a team. You're a team. You're working together. It's like two kids working together or playing together. They join one another. That's what it is all about. So I've got these little pictures here. Here's the mitzvot. God says to take my yoke upon you, or Jesus does. What that means, and he says that, here is the aleph representing God, and here's you. And God says, my burden isn't heavy, it's light. And he says, these are my ways. And it's like a bicycling for kids. God is in the lead position. We're just the little kids on the back pedaling. We're not doing any work. He's leading the way, but we join him in the fun. Now, listen, I'm going to do a real brain twist for you here. God says, I'm going to show mercy to those that love me and keep my commandments. Why does he need to show mercy if you're keeping the commandments? He doesn't need to show mercy if you're keeping the commandments. So why does he say, I show mercy to those who love me and keep my commandments? It doesn't say those who keep my commandments and then love me. It's those who love me. In other words, they're going to blow it. That's why he says, I'm going to show mercy if your heart is to do what I say and then you fail, hey, it's okay, you're trying. Sin, there's 8 different Hebrew words for sin. There's different levels of sin, and one of them is to turn your back on God. You're not even shooting at the target. Torah means to hit the target, you hit the bullseye. Sin is turning your back and you're shooting the arrows the other direction. God does not expect you to hit a bullseye every time, but at least you're facing the right way. Okay? So that's why he'll show mercy to those who love him first, and then they're trying to keep the commandments, yes, and they may fail, yes, but how many of you know your first-year-old will color outside of the lines? But that's your favorite card, and you put it on the refrigerator. You love it. Okay, but the whole thing is our attitude, not you ain't the boss of me. There is no boss over me.